Next, I want to show you one more special parameter. We will go to our view once again. And this is an aggregation parameter. So for those that are not aware, you can go to the aggregation tab in your view. This brings us to this control. You can immediately see if we open this up, for instance, and go to output gain. This is an aggregation rule, which is basically an aggregated value of parameters that match some filters or something like that. So if we would go to edit mode here, we can see, for instance, this is actually an average that is calculated every 5 minutes of all of my Philips devices, so all of the IRDs. And it will take the output gain and average them for everything in this view. So this is the actual value, and this is also a parameter which we can visualize. So if I go back to my view, Visio, there we go. You can create a new shape. Just duplicate this one once again. Not refer to an element, but rather to an aggregation parameter. And as a value in there, we can set the underlying parameter, of course, and the underlying index of the table that we keep in our system. But we can also use this placeholder aggregation rule, which can link you to the correct parameter immediately. And it gives us some IntelliSense as well. And it tells us to enter a folder. So my aggregation rule was in this folder. The rule's name was output gain. And then we can choose on which view to show, on which view to apply the aggregation rule, which means that it will then, if you remember, take all of the elements with that protocol below that view. So in this case, I will take ID 10,030, which is the ID of my Visio training view. We'll put an asterisk in the shape so we can actually see the value as well. And we can see it gets resolved correctly. And it has the same value as we can see here for the rule output gain. The last thing I want to show is something similar to aggregation, but it's more of an on-the-fly snapshot of certain values. And it's called the parameter summary. So if you go back to our PDF, we can see here that we have a parameters summary. And we have a certain format that we want to use for that. Namely an operation, first of all, then a pipe, and then the element and parameter ID. And then you can go for multiple elements, or you can add indices for a table on there. And note that we have our aggregation rule right above that, which we just covered as well. So let's go back to our Visio file, copy this shape, and instead of aggregation, I will now define parameters summary as a shape data. And as a value, I will calculate the average of element IRD1 parameter 176. So if you remember, that's the ID of the output gain parameter. Pipe. And I will also add IRD2 for the same parameter. So it will take the average of these two values at all times. Save it, and then go to this, and we can see the average value right here. So this is more of an on-the-fly calculation that happens in Visio and that takes parameter values from different parameters and then does a calculation onto it. So this is not trended or alarmed, as you can see as well, compared to the one for aggregation rule, which you can define those on.